Morning folks, Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School. I've had quite a few requests lately asking, what do I wear in the wintertime, or what kind of clothing do I recommend in the wintertime. And I did a video probably 2 or 3 years ago about winter clothing, and I haven't done a video since. So I thought today, being that the last 2 days have been between -8 and -13 here in southeast Ohio, I did some squirrel hunting this morning. I've been out here for several hours, and I thought maybe I'd go over the clothing that I'm wearing with you in this video. First of all, I wanted to show you something real fast. This is just a quick modification, and I did not do this modification myself. I took this gun to a gunsmith, and this is the single shot H&R 12 gauge that I use all the time with the sub-caliber adapters from Short Lane Arms. And I took this gun to a gunsmith friend of mine and had him put both a rear dovetail sight and a front blade sight on this single shot 12 gauge. So now I have a smooth bore, what they used to call a rifle gun. It's a gun because it's not a rifle, and it has rifled sights, and they called those rifle guns back in the 1700s. And there are several accounts of rifle guns being sold, accounts of rifle guns being lost with ads in newspapers, looking for or for sale one rifle gun. And rifle gun referred to a smoothbore weapon with rifled sights. I have a flintlock that's a rifle gun. It's a 62 caliber. This happens to be 12 gauge, which is about 72, 73 caliber. 71 round ball is what I shoot out of a modified choke. But now that it has the rear sight and the front blade sight, that gives me advantage for elevation and windage when shooting the 8-inch rifle adapters, like the 22 long rifle, 9mm, 357, 45 long Colt, and things of that nature. So I want to show you that real quick because it's not an expensive modification. My gunsmith charged me right at $100, and I know for a fact the front sight alone cost $35. So he didn't charge me a whole lot for his time and energy, and he had to build the rear dovetail sight himself out of a piece of metal stock. So if you got a gunsmith that you know that you can talk into doing that for you, it will definitely improve your 21st century long hunter kit by making your 12 gauge a rifle gun. So let's get to the clothing that I'm wearing, okay? You're going to hear me contradict some things in this video, probably from past videos and also from what you hear a lot of times on the internet, because there are certain things that are standard survival practices that when it comes to bushcraft and things like that, I'm not a big believer in. And the first one is the old saying that cotton kills, okay? Cotton kills if you get it wet in the wintertime and you're stuck with it. That's a fact. But you can still wear cotton clothing if you are wearing other layers of clothing that can get wet, or that you can take off the cotton so that you can dry it out. Cotton is a natural material. Natural materials are always going to be better insulation than any man-made fiber like a nylon material. So generally what I wear is, we'll start with the feet and we'll go up, okay? I have a pair of -33-degree socks on. And they're the thickest pair of wool socks I can get that don't cramp inside the boot. And that's important. You want a little bit of airspace inside that boot to be able to trap warm air. Most of the time, if you get cold when you're sitting still, standing, or sitting in a tree stand, and your feet get cold, it's because you don't have the proper amount of airspace inside that boot trapped to keep your foot warm, and you've compressed the insulation of your sock. So I like to wear the pull-on type boots. These boots are Muck Arctic Pros. They're the boots that I wear almost every day in the wintertime, especially if there's snow on the ground. My feet have never ever been cold in Muck Arctic Pros. So I've got -33-degree socks on that are wool, merino wool, followed by the boot. Now you could wear a thinner merino wool sock underneath the heavier wool sock, and there is a lot of theory about layering your extremities just like you layer the rest of your body, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have never had problems with being cold with just a single pair of wool socks on and the Arctic Pros. If I had a thinner pair of boots on, maybe like a wetland boot or something like that made by Muck, then I may choose to go with 2 pairs of socks. Above that, I have a pair of -33 degrees black merino wool long underwear underneath that. And then I have canvas type denim material, that's cotton obviously, on top of that. So I have that insulative layer against my skin of the merino wool that's going to retain insulation value even if it gets wet. So if I get wet, up in here, I can take the pants off, I can dry the pants over the fire while I'm standing in front of the fire getting the wool dry, but the wool is going to keep me somewhat warm, especially standing next to the fire, while I'm drying out the cotton pants or the denim canvas pants. And that's what's important to understand, is that you can wear cotton or natural materials, but you've got to have something, you've got to make a sacrifice somewhere where if I'm going to wear that, I'm going to have something underneath it that can get wet and it's still going to be warm, like the merino wool. And minus 33 degrees, in my opinion, is probably the best brand next to icebreakers. And then Wool Power would be number 3 as far as insulative long underwear type things go. Above that, I have on basically a minus 33 degrees long black long underwear shirt, followed by a linen hunting shirt. And this is a handmade linen hunting shirt, same as the ones I wear in a lot of my videos that you guys see. It's made out of a heavy thread count linen. Like I said, they're custom made. They're natural fiber. So again, if they get wet, they're going to get cold, but I have the merino wool underneath that. And over the top of that second layer, layering my body, I have a Leicester River Bushcraft wool boreal bushcraft shirt. 100% wool, 100% warm, 100% bomb proof as far as I'm concerned. I've had this one for several years, and you cannot beat this thing in the wintertime. The only issue you'll ever have with this top piece of garment is if you are on a four-wheeler going 50 miles an hour and it's not going to cut the wind, or if the winds are 50 miles an hour and you're standing out there and it's not going to cut the wind. In which case, like we talked about in the last kit video I did, I pull that watch coat that's made out of oilcloth out of my haversack and put that on over all of this as a wind-breaking, wind-shearing layer. I wear just a pair of wool, standard wool gloves, and these are just military issue wool gloves. I don't think these are American issue. I think these were some other country, probably Germany or something like that. But they're 100% wool. And then over the top of that, I wear a pair of mitts that are wool lined, leather on the palm and the thumb, and beaver on the back. These things have never ever let me down. A good pair of military Arctic mitts, same thing. If you got a pair of those good military Arctic mitts, you're never going to get cold in them as long as you've got something else like wool underneath them. Not a big fan of the mitten type things that go on your hands underneath them. I'd rather have the gloves, so I've got that finger dexterity if I need it, still keeping my hands covered. Okay, then above that, the only thing I do is, if it's really, really cold outside, I'll wear a kerchief that we've talked about in past videos, and it's usually either linen or merino wool, depending on the weather. And when I say really cold, I mean colder than right now. And then on top, I've got this leather bomber cap that is fur on the outside. It's quilted on the inside with some insulation in it. And then it can be dropped down and unbuckled so that it will cover your ears totally if you need it, like this. And you can button it underneath as well if it was really, really cold outside. It has to be absolutely freezing for me to ever do that. Generally speaking, I wear it with the flaps up, and they come down almost to the bottom of your ears as it is. And this hat is usually the first thing that comes off when I start walking or tramping through the woods, because the thing is so hot. But it will definitely keep the heat from escaping from your head and neck, and that's important to understand. The other thing I want you to understand that I explain to my students a lot is your extremities are just as important, if not more important, than your core. And I shouldn't say if not more important, but just as important as your core. The reason for that is all of your blood's going to circulate. If your extremities are freezing cold and that blood circulates out to that cold area and comes back, you're already at a lower temperature here than you are here. If you're circulating blood out there and it's coming back even colder every time and circulating again and again and again, your body's going to have to, number one, work harder to keep itself warm, burn more calories and more metabolic energy, and number two, your feet, your hands and fingers, or your head or your feet are going to freeze. So you've got to keep your extremities covered just as well with layers as you cover the rest of your body. And that's important. I think a lot of people forget that. So I wanted to real quickly today just walk through what I wear for a very cold weather environment. In Ohio, minus 8 degrees, minus 13 degrees, that's very cold weather. We don't get weather like that but about once every 10 years, and it's been like that for the past week in Ohio, pretty consistently in the negatives. So yeah, if you live in Minnesota or someplace like that, or to Canada where it gets, minus 20, minus 30, minus 8 might be nothing to you. But again, if you live in Florida, 32 degrees is probably freezing. To me, 32 degrees is very comfortable. So it's all environmental. That's what I wear in this environment. I can't speak for your environment, but I wanted to give you that quick tidbit today of advice, because a lot of people have been asking me, and a lot of people have asked where I got this shirt, and this is a boreal bushcraft shirt from Leicester River Bushcraft. The other shirt underneath it is a handmade hunting shirt. They're not available. I had it handmade by a seamstress. I've got 7 of them that she made me. So I appreciate you joining me for this video. I thank you for everything you do for me, for my school, for my family, for every one of us that is affiliated with the Pathfinder School, Pathfinder TV, Self-Reliance Outfitters, and soon to be the Hunt Channel. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.